Welcome back. Just finished up with Public Service Commissioner Sherry Haugen Hoffert. I think the AI issue is I wish he had gone a little deeper into the concerns about rates, because I feel like that is probably the most reasonable concern about the AI facilities, unless you're living like right in the neighborhood with one, and then obviously things like noise and
Yeah.
traffic are also reasonable concerns. But I think for North Dakotans in general, who maybe don't live near one of these facilities, that's going to be most of us, no matter how many they build. Um, I think the concern is utility rates. We don't want to see power rates go through the roof. We know they're going to go up. That's the trend. That's inflation because of things like health, all the things that you mentioned, healthcare costs, their price of goods and services, all the rest of it. That's reality. So there's going to be some inflation just no matter what we do. But bringing on these massive new consumers for power, I mean, I want to say, and I just don't think she did a very good job of explaining it. I think it's because we have a lot of power that we're producing in North Dakota, and this is a customer for it. And a lot of that power is getting harder to export because of politics and what's going on and things like that. So having a place in the state that's going to take up some of that power, it's probably not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I thought your first question is the most important one. It defies my logic. And I'm not an economist, but if there is a huge new demand on our energy and the basics of supply and demand, how do prices not go up? Right. I mean, I just can't wrap my head around how prices don't, unless it's exactly what you're saying, that we're wasting all this energy that we're
that
producing.
not so much even wasting it, but that we have the capacity to produce it, and we currently.
More.
So I mean, maybe we can, right? Because the only way, because supply and demand, right? If demand goes up, the only way prices don't go up is if supply also goes up.
Right.
We have enough supply, and I think I'm willing to believe that we do. I just, I need to hear that. I think from
Right.
somebody who can tell me, oh yes, we can turn the knot, we can have our coal miners mine more coal and produce more power. And
What a sophisticated way to look at this, right? Just dig more coal and burn more coal. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we didn't get that answer. If I was somebody who's near Harwood or Ellendale or whatever, I'm still confused on how my rates don't go up unless they turn that knob.
so I think that's something that we still need to get a good answer for, especially, and that's not just for the Applied Digital facilities. There's going to be more of these coming that
Right.
want to build here. And generally, I think that's a good thing. But we need to understand the economic impacts, both positive and negative, to
So,
make sure that we're making the right decisions.
so I'm really looking forward to our conversation next week with the guy from Applied Digital because
Yeah.
I I honestly don't know how I feel about this. Generally, I'm pro like bringing in an industry like this, but I want to know more about like sort of the economic scope. Like what are we getting out of this? I mean, just the idea that AI is coming, so therefore we should do it here, to me isn't enough. But if it's creating hundreds of jobs in this economic in long-term jobs, it's not just the construction jobs, right? Because I don't think that's a good selling point.
Oh.
And what does it mean? And so I'd like to learn more about that.
I mean, I think the facilities, they don't have. I mean, they're not factories.
Right.
You're not talking about huge workforces, but I mean, that's a pertinent question.
Right.
And I'm less worried about it because I think when you start building things like that it starts opening up. Once this industry is here, it opens up the potential for other industries. There's a ripple effect to these things. So I mean, I think it's really exciting, and I'm less like I don't think they need to. I don't think any business needs to justify itself in coming here. I think what we need to make sure of is that the sort of business that's coming here, that's going to be responsible. So for instance, we don't want to pollute. We don't want it to create a lot of negative, like maybe we're going to talk about gambling a little bit later in this segment. You bring in gambling, we know there's a lot of social impact that goes on around that
Right.
that we need to talk about. So things like that I'm concerned about. But even if they just created one job, I don't think they have to justify themselves by the number of jobs they created. If they want to do business in North Dakota, they should be allowed to do business in North Dakota. But like it or not, we're all on the same power, not the same power grid, but you know what I mean. You
Yeah.
know, it impacts all of us. We need to understand these things.
But if I'm a taxpayer in Harwood, North Dakota, and I know that it's going to be generating enough economic development that my property taxes might go out, I might put up with a little bit more noise pollution, right? I
Sure.
mean, I
Oh,
think,
yeah, that's
yeah,
fair. Yeah, that's cost benefit.
right,
So interesting interview there, but I really think we need to get, and I can understand some reticence and not wanting to guarantee the prices are going to go up because there's so many variables.
right.
You go, oh, utility prices won't go up, and then they go up. Well, maybe it had nothing to do with the AI data center. Maybe it had to do with inflation or healthcare costs or all the other variables that impact utility rates. But the problem is they went up. You said they wouldn't. Try explaining that to the public.
But didn't Cass Electric basically say this won't affect utility rates? And I think people are reading that to mean that they're,
I think they need to be more nuanced than that.
yeah, and I think people are going to hear they promised us our rates wouldn't go up, and rates are going to go up with or without this facility.
they
So,
need to be careful about that because
right.
even if that's because I don't think that's the intent.
No, I don't think so either, but I think that's what people are going to hear.
They need to be very clear about, and I think the way is like, tell us where the power is going to come from. You say, well, this power plant over here, it's capable of producing this many more kilowatt hours of power, whatever the metric is, and it can meet the demand of this facility. Which also, I mean, the nice thing about a facility like this is its power consumption is predictable. And
Right.
she said something I thought was really interesting is that they're interruptible, meaning that if they need to, they can flip a switch and turn them off. That's not like, say, residential power that can at times be unpredictable. And also, you can't just ask people to turn off their electricity in their homes.
Yeah. I also think, and she sort of said this, there are going to be people who are opposed to this no matter what.
Sure.
And I think that's right. And again, I think that's probably across the extremes of the ideological perspective. And I think some of them have really valid concerns, and it's up to these companies to answer the concerns to the best of their ability. And then, but I don't know the mayor or the city commission of Harwood. I don't think they're criminals for considering this.
Well, that was one of the other things in the article was somebody accused them of selling out. And the mayor was like, we haven't even had a meeting about this yet.
Right.
Like, they proposed it. Now the process is going to begin where we're going to have meetings about it. We're going to have, I'm assuming they're going to be welcoming more public comment about it. So the idea that they sold out, they haven't done anything yet. They haven't had a single vote about it yet. So
and how did they sell out? Like, is there some sort of financial benefits?
I think every elected official, every public servant in the state should be willing to consider every business proposal.
Right.
Every business proposal that comes in. Now, sometimes maybe we have to say no, or sometimes it's not going to work, or sometimes there's regulatory reasons where we have to step in. But you got to be open-minded. You can't be upset just because somebody proposed this.
I think the other interesting thing about Harwood is, a couple places in the articles I read, they said we don't want to be kindred, right? They don't want to be like sort of this exploding sort of suburb of Fargo, West Fargo. That's already going to happen to Harwood. Harwood's close enough it's going to be part of the metro not that long from now. So it's not like this quaint little small town.
I don't think that had anything to do with the AI facility. I think that
it's common.
Well, in some ways, the flood diversion is going to create some scenarios where it's just Fargo's coming to you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Horace was the example that they
Horace. That's right. Not kindred.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about?
How dare you correct me on my knowledge of small towns in Cass County?
Well, I'm not sure that my knowledge is any better than yours is, but it's Horace. Just I've had occasion to write some and hear some about what's going on in Horace over the last couple of years. Gambling in North Dakota. I've written a couple articles about this, and it's on my mind. And every time I write about it, people reach out. There is a growing, I think, public concern about gambling in North Dakota because it has exploded. I don't think the societal impacts have caught up to us yet. When we're talking about things like problem gambling, people wagering money they have no business wagering. There's pressure now, I mean, even to expand beyond charitable gaming. Our friends at Turtle Mountain want to build a casino off their reservation near Grand Forks. We're seeing bills every legislative session to legalize sports betting. Um, these things are coming, and I don't. My argument of late is the state is not up to the task of regulating what this industry has become in our state, and I'm regulating every aspect of it from the potential crime around it, embezzlement, fraud, things like that, to making sure that if it's charitable gaming, that the revenues really are going to charities. Because I've started looking at, and I don't want to name names because I've just started looking, but Chad, I'm looking at some of the Form 990s. Now, this is an IRS tax form that nonprofits have to file that talks, things about salary, where they got their revenues, how they spent their revenues. There's some that they get most of their revenue from gambling. They spend
Right.
most of their revenue on gambling. It almost starts to feel like they're a casino with nonprofit status. And they have like this charitable purpose over here that they throw some money to as a fig leaf. Um
So, Rob, this is an issue that I'm actually, we talk about this program that it's okay to learn more and sort of shift your beliefs a little bit. I I I used to be open it up. Let's just have gambling everywhere. Let's have sports betting. Let's do all this stuff. I'm actually getting a lot more concerned about the societal ills. I mean, you referenced the person who emptied their 401k because of their addiction. A legislator had emailed that to you. But I was in Fargo last week, and it was us, another couple, and both of our sons that are 8 or 9. And our boys were playing pinball. And then there was the electronic slot machines like 10 feet away. Electronic e-tabs. I'm sorry, not slot machines. They just look like slot machines to you. And I just was thinking to myself, this feels like we're in a casino right now. And it was a family friendly sort of place. And then sports betting. I used to be a big proponent of sports betting, and but I worry about the easy access to it, and I worry about somebody sitting at a baseball game and betting on the next pitch or betting on whatever, and what that means. It's not real money at some point, and so I do worry about the societal impacts more. And um, hopefully my wife doesn't listen to this, because I gave her a tough time for her votes against sports betting when she was in the Senate. And her reasons were exactly what I'm laying out now. I'm just a little slower than her.
I think when gambling was like a destination thing where you had to take a trip to Vegas, or you had to take a trip to one of our reservation communities to do it. It was different than, or even you had to leave your house.
Right.
Now you can, I mean, with sports betting, if we legal, I mean, you can sit in your recliner and potentially lose thousands of dollars on a game. Um,
And not just on a game, on the next pitch, on the net. What's that batter good? Like, the prop bets are what make me really nervous.
I have never had, because I've always known, there's a lot of people in my family, they enjoy gambling. They like going to Las Vegas. They can also afford to do it, right? That's how they like to spend their free time. I don't like gambling, because I look and I can do math. I could see how lucrative these gambling enterprises are, and the reason why they're so lucrative is you lose almost all the time. And I that just doesn't seem fun to me. I'm just losing all the time. I'd rather play a video game where I'm more than likely going to win. Why would I? Why, it's a heck of a lot cheaper. So why I don't understand it from that perspective. So maybe it's some of my bias coming through. I mean, the libertarian in me wants to, fools and their money, do what you want. But there are real societal impacts, and I think what bothers me the most about what's going on in North Dakota is the way we've done it, where we've sort of legalized gambling without ever really putting that question to the legislature, or putting that question to, like, we have legal, large scale, borderline casino level gambling in North Dakota, in our communities, at all sorts of different venues in each community. And we really did it. It kind of came in through the back door. And I don't think our regulatory apparatus has kept up. I mean, as of right now, I'm not saying stop it, but maybe like a pause, maybe like a moratorium, and maybe let's explore and make sure, the charitable people, I think, need a microscope on them to make sure that this money is making it to the things that they're saying that it's going to make it to.
But the legislators who voted against the Turtle Mountain Casino in Grand Forks because they didn't want casinos, that can't be an excuse for not supporting this thing because they're already there. They're already there.
And the problem is, I think a lot of them are. I mean, I think charitable gaming swings a big political club down in Bismarck.
Absolutely. And
And
it's because it's not just charitable gaming, it's the people who produce the machines, it's the bar. I mean, there's so many different people who are
it's not just the charities. There's a whole separate industry that serves the charities.
that makes a ton of money.
Makes a ton of money. They come in and they're like, well, use our machines and we'll maintain them and we'll, do this. I mean, there's a whole array of products and services that they offer to the charities that is an industry in and of itself before you even get to the gambling aspect of it. It's remarkable. And I mean, we're talking about, wanting to diversify our economy and create jobs. And I guess this does that. It creates economic activity, but gambling is a type of economic activity with, as I mentioned earlier in the segment, also has a lot of societal ills that go with it, and we tolerate some of that. We know that if bars are great for tourism and great for the economy and the places a lot of people want to go, but when you open bars, you're going to get with it drunk driving and the other problems that they create sometimes. And so we do tolerate that sometimes. I'm not a prohibitionist. I don't want to shut down the bars. Far from it. But we have not had good debate, and I do not think we have good oversight of gambling in the state right now.
Right. And I think this is a place where, we've had the attorney general and the person who's in charge of charitable gaming on this podcast before. They need more resources if they're going to properly regulate this. And again, it's not just the social services that we have to fund to take care of the ills. We have to also properly regulate things if we're going to bring an industry in. And that might mean some taxpayer dollars going to staff to regulate this stuff because it's out of control. I mean, you can't tell me, if you're from out of state and you come to North Dakota and you walk into one of these bars with the fake slot machines all over, that they're like, oh, they've got charitable gaming here in North Dakota. No, they're thinking they have legal gambling in North Dakota.
I like how we call it gaming too. Like it's like we're playing Super Mario. No, we're gambling.
Yeah,
this is gambling. They like to call it
real money,
but it's gambling, and it's legal here. And you're absolutely right. We're gonna need to, regulate this stuff. And so I hope we get tough. The attorney general, I think, has done a pretty good job. But he's talked about it. He's gotten a lot of flack and a lot of blowback for for taking this on. But this one place where I think he's done a really good job, where he's come in and said, no, we are going to enforce it. I mean, one of the big things he did was a story that I had been working on about a charity, the Wall of Honor, where essentially they had a nonprofit, a charity that was being used just as a way to generate business for a gambling company. And the charitable purpose was they were putting TV monitors up in gas stations and stuff that would flash up pictures of North Dakota veterans. I'm all for honoring North Dakota veterans. I'm the son of a veteran who I'm very proud of. But that was ludicrous. The idea that was helping veterans at all, that was absurd.
Well, and they cracked down at that bar in Mandan, if you recall, as well, a year or so ago, because they were basically having a blackjack table in order to sponsor their softball team or something like that. So I think that Drew and their office has tried to make some examples out of people, but it is so big. It is so big. And we know when an industry largely unregulated like this becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, there's other things that get involved in it, right? I mean, organized crime or other things. So I'm with you. I think we need to figure out how we properly regulate this stuff because it's out of hand.
Last thing we want to talk about, I think, is promoting from within. I had a column, and it was kind of based on Brent Sanford, who is the acting, or I guess interim chancellor of the North Dakota University system. And there's a question about, do we want him to continue on the job? And, there were some members, Kevin Black, who's on the North Dakota State Board of Higher Education. He said, yeah, we've already got the next candidate. Let's have him on. Let's have him just continue his job. I think that's great. And the thing about it is, I think we need to do more of that. It probably stems from, I get a little frustrated sometimes, Chad, with this idea that every time we hire somebody, whether it's a city manager or the chancellor of the university system or whatever, we have to spend 100,000 or 200,000 or $300,000 on a national search to bring somebody in from somebody else to go and fill this position. And I think a lot of times we could do a better job of maybe finding candidates and promoting from within.
Yeah, we have this thing where if somebody shows up for the interview in an airplane, they're more qualified than the guy who drives down the street for the.
I think that's really true. I think there is an element of North Dakota self-loathing
Right.
where we have this sort of inferiority complex, and we think, well, if they're a North Dakotan, then there's some rube, and we need somebody sophisticated from somewhere else to come tell us how to do that. It's not true. We have so many smart. First of all, I really admire Brent Sanford, so I think he's a great example to illustrate this. I think he's very, very competent. I think he is doing a good job for as chancellor, although he hasn't been doing it that long. I think he will do a phenomenal job if he gets that job permanently. But I mean, I really think whether it's university presidents or whatever, we need to promote from within and quit spending so much money on these consultants.
Yeah, I think university presidents, I think school districts where we've often, if a superintendent is hired from within or close to and has a connection to North Dakota, they're more successful and they stick around longer. I always get nervous if somebody's coming here from some other state. If you're Mark Kennedy going to UND or whatever, it's either a stepping stone or there's something else going on, right? I mean, so I think I like the idea of hiring within. I also like the idea, the board's already decided Brent Sanford's the guy. Don't go through some fake process and spend a bunch of money to just give the guy the job. There's no reason to go through some sort of fake process.
Oh, he's qualified. He's already doing the job. Let him do the job.
Yeah, and I don't follow the work day in, day out to know if he's doing, but if the board thinks he's doing a good job and they're the ones hiring him, just get it done.
I haven't heard any complaints so far, and in that position, no news. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think just philosophically, because we do it. I mean, hiring police chiefs. We just went through that in Minot. We spent all this money, and sometimes it does make sense to hire from outside. I think I'm picking on the Minot police chief now. I think in that situation, given the amount of problems we had internally at the Minot Police Department, bringing in somebody from outside is maybe not a bad idea. So it's not like I'm totally against it all the time, but sometimes it's just sort of a rote response. We have a vacancy. We got to hire a consultant. We got to get applicants from all over the country. When I think a lot of times, I think of how well somebody who was just a classroom teacher in a school district and move up the ranks, and then they become superintendent. I got to think that time spent as a classroom teacher would be very, very valuable.
In so many of these jobs, if you're a university head, if you're a superintendent, if you're the chief of police, they're political jobs in the sense that you need community support. You need to go out and meet people.
You need relationships with
yeah, and if you're coming up through the ranks, you have some relationships. You probably have some people who don't like you either, too. But I think that does say something. And so I agree with your general premise. I'm sure there's times where it would make sense to do a national search, but
I would like them to start when there's a vacancy. It's, okay, so-and-so's leaving, they're retiring, they're getting fired, whatever's going on. How about we start with, okay, who do we have internally?
Right.
That might be willing to apply or that maybe we could reach out to and recruit. Start there. And then if there's other situations or there's just not a good candidate, then go to the search. Yeah. The consultant industry is probably going to be pretty mad at me about this. Although am I wrong? I mean, you observed this stuff. And I mean, when I'm reporting on stuff and I see them hiring consultants all the time, I sometimes feel like they couldn't tie their shoes without hiring a consultant first. And it drives me a little nuts.
The hiring consulting business is a very, very interesting business. I'll tell a little personal story. When I got this job at North Dakota United, they had a national consultant who was looking for somebody for a long time. I mean, maybe 12, 18 months. And then I called the president and said, hey, I'm sort of interested in this opening job. And I ended up getting hired for the job. The consultant still got paid, but they had nothing to do with finding me or hiring me or whatever. So I think that's often the case as well, that we're going to do this national search and then we're probably just going to hire the person through networking. And I agree. I didn't know until probably 15 years ago that every job had to have a consultant, headhunter associated with it, but
Yeah.
it's accelerating.
Well, even policy decisions where, we're going to bring it in. And I think some ways I think sometimes it can be used as a way to sort of deflect responsibility for decisions, because you hire a consultant, they tell you what to do. And then if it's the wrong thing, you fire the consultant.
Yeah,
And
this guy.
you hire the wrong person, then it's like it's the consultant's fault, not my fault as the elected leader. And I think that's got to stop. I think it's an accountability thing. All right, we're gonna wrap it up there. Hey, have a great Labor Day weekend. I hope everybody's got wonderful plans. I hope everybody's safe and has a good time with their families. Now it's school.
Celebrate your local labor unions.
Yeah, or just I don't know. Well, yeah, if you want, there's nothing wrong with labor unions. I've never belonged to one in my life, although I am the child of two public workers. My dad was a member of the Alaska Peace Officers Association.
Nice.
My mom was a clerk at City Hall. She was a member of the I don't even know what their association's called, or their union up there is called. I don't know. I don't remember. But both of my wife is a member of North Dakota United.
The best union in all of North Dakota.
I have never in my life been a union member. But hey, unions make sense sometimes they don't. So celebrate labor unions if you want. Celebrate your family, celebrate yourself, whatever you're going to do. I hope you have a good time. Remember, you can always leave us a voicemail, 701-587-3141. You can send us text to that message as well if you want to interact with the show. Here's something you like, something you don't like, have some additional context or information. Send it to us. We're happy to share it, text or voicemail. Follow us on social media, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, X. Plain Talk ND is the way to go. Follow us on Spotify. Leave us ratings, leave us reviews. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk again. That's it for today on Plain Talk, the voice of North Dakota politics. Plain Talk is a production of Forum Communications Company. Got a question, comment, or suggestion? Leave us a voicemail or send us a text message at 701-587-3141. That's 701-587-3141. If you haven't subscribed to Plain Talk yet, you can find us on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. For those of you who are already hooked, give us a rating or review. And don't forget to share or tell a friend. Special thanks to my co-host Chad Oban, and from myself and everyone at Plain Talk, thanks for listening. I once tried to use a-hole in a headline, and I got in trouble.